everybody. Welcome to Getting to Wisconsin Sports. I'm your host, John Giddings.
And I'm your co-host, I guess it would be Kenny Campbell.
Yep. And right here, we're here to talk about anything Wisconsin sports, from the Bucks to the Brewers to the Packers to the Badgers to UWM, UW Green Bay. You name it, we talk about it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, the subject for today's first show, this is going to really get us into how it started. And Kenny, it started with a Facebook comment thread, didn't it?
Yeah, it started, on the Facebook comment thread. I was like, this might be podcast type material, because we actually went, it was like a 30 message thread on there.
Yep, exactly. And we started by talking about Brandon Jennings, who we will get to later in the podcast, but we then delved into a conversation about Michael Redd and how he was a forgotten star with the Bucks, and he led the Bucks through some lean years.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. That was like the down years of the Bucks, for sure. The ones that like the forgotten years of the Bucks, for sure. Before we got the new stadium.
Yeah, before we got the new arena, before the Lazarine Edens took over the team and everything. So let's get into Michael Redd a little bit, shall we? So he started off draft pick in 2000, notoriously weak draft, but he was definitely a diamond in the rough. He was selected in the second round after his junior year at Ohio State. Didn't really play his first season. You might recall the first season was when the Bucks had the big three and they went to the Eastern Conference Finals against the Sixers. But then second season, he really came up a lot. He became a sixth man for them, averaged about 11 points a game, averaged a little over 11 points a game. That was a 01-02 season. And then his time came in 2002, 2003, an infamous Bucks trade, right, Kenny?
Yes. That was when we got rid of Ray Allen.
Yep. I mean,
there were worst trades in NBA history. It was a terrible trade. But
I mean, there's not much good to take from that at all. Let's just say.
And that was definitely the start of the decline for those years. Was when after we lost in the Eastern Conference Finals. That was the big drop off. Is when Big Dog and everybody left out. When Ray Allen left out. That was the key moment I think it was a good thing for Michael Redd, though.
Personally. Yeah, I mean yep, and that you spoke to my point there, because honestly, that was probably the only good thing that came of that trade. Was it opened the door for Michael Redd to be a star, and that happened very quickly. Because if you remember, the next year was his only All-Star appearance, 03-04.
Gee, I didn't even know that. I didn't even realize that.
So he had averaged a little over 20 points a game. He was averaging 21.7 points, 5 rebounds. That was his only All-Star appearance. And the Bucks that year were expected to be one of the worst teams in the East, but because of how well Redd played, and you remember TJ Ford before he had that bad neck injury.
Yep.
Because of how well those guys played, the Bucks, they proceeded to have a surprising 41-41 season. They ended up losing in the first round to the Pistons, who eventually won it that year.
Yeah, and TJ Ford is another player that we'll eventually have to talk about, because one, he used to, I just see in my head the picture of him with the super big jersey. He looked like a child.
And the shorts.
And he looked like a child. But he's also one that I think that his potential got limited so much being on that roster, because I think he would have been a really good player. I remember him in college. He was a really good player in college.
Yeah, quicker than almost anyone. He had quickness that would rival. I know most people would probably smack me for saying this, but would actually rival Allen Iverson.
And that's the exact name I thought about when you said it.
Mm-hmm. But see, it was that you're right about the fit on the roster, but also it was just that neck injury really limited him, though, because I think it was like a spinal fusion injury. I couldn't exactly remember all the details on an injury, but what I remember is it really limited his mobility from then on in his career, though.
And the way he played, that definitely changed his game, because his game, like you said, it was predicated on him being quick and him being fast, and something like that can change your whole body. So,
right. Yeah, but TJ Ford, another subject, another time. Let's get back to Michael Redd, who, he after that season, he was the one who kept the Bucks, at least. I wouldn't say competitive, because they had a lot of losing seasons, but he kept them from being the worst team in the league. Let's just say that.
And he may have kept the Bucks in Milwaukee too, because at that time they were talking. Well, Herb Cole was doing his best to keep him here, but it was a rough time that we could have lost our franchise for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you remember if you remember, I mean, you think about it now with what they've been with the championships and Giannis and all that. It's crazy to think that not even 10 years ago there was a website called SaveOurBucks.com, and because this was right when Herb Cole was desperately looking for someone to buy the team.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was getting old and he was tired and everything like that. And but you know what's funny about that? Now that you mentioned that, you remember back in I think it was '03, there was an investment group led by Michael Jordan of all people who wanted to buy the Bucks. And if I remember correctly, Herb Cole would have come out pretty good from that. But the problem was, you know what would have happened,
Yeah,
because
he would have moved him immediately.
Charlotte had just lost their team at that time to New Orleans, and then Charlotte, if you remember, got the Bobcats, who are now the Hornets again a couple years later. All right, so let me just so I'm back looking at the years. So I'm back looking at the years for Michael Redd, and even though his only All-Star appearance was that year we were talking about, 03-04, the truth is his scoring averages went up the next 3 years, because 04-05 it was 23, 05-06 when they went to the playoffs and faced the Pistons again and lost in a gentleman's sweep again.
Yeah.
He averaged 25.4 that year. You know what's funny about that? The game they won, my dad and I went to it. Michael Redd dropped like 40 points in that game.